So we're told there's two numbers that if you add them up, they make negative 8. So start right off with two numbers that we don't know. X plus y, their sum makes negative 8. And then we're told that the product of the two numbers is negative 209. So that means multiply x times, oops, that's not times, write them next to each other. X times y equals negative 209. And so to find the two numbers, you have two variables and two equations. You've got to somehow combine the two equations to find an answer. So let's start with this top one up here. We can manipulate that a little bit. Why don't we subtract x from both sides? So now we have y equals something. Now you can make a substitution. Right in here, instead of y, I'm going to replace it with the parentheses, negative 8x minus x. Oops. I misspoke there. That's y, you replace it with negative 8 minus x. And so when you do that, now you just have one variable in an equation to deal with. You've got an x in front of a parentheses, so distribute the x. That gives you negative 8x minus x squared. And that's a quadratic equation. Because there's an x squared, there's an x, and there's no x. So quadratics in general, you want to set them equal to 0 to solve. And since it's usually easier to solve when a equals positive 1, I'm going to move x squared over to this side. I'm going to move 8x over to this side by undoing it. So you can add x squared to both sides. Then at the same time, I'm also going to add 8x to both sides. So here's what it should look like after you do that. 0 equals x squared plus 8x minus 209. So when quadratics are set equal to 0, it's easier if you can factor them. Luckily, this is one where we can factor. Factoring a quadratic where a is 1, if you're out of practice at that, you just start off two parentheses with an x, and then you fill in two numbers that multiply to be negative 209, but add it to be 8. And how about 19 and negative 11? Because those multiply to be negative 209 specifically, and they add up to be positive 8. And factoring is always best because if you can factor it, then it's really easy to find the solution. You just tell me what it takes to make each parentheses equal 0. So x equals negative 19, x equals 11. Those are the two solutions. So those are the two numbers that they were looking for. Two numbers that add up to be negative 8, sorry. Negative 19 plus 11, that does make negative 8. And their product is negative 209. Negative 19 times 11, that does make negative 209.